Okay, so we'll slowly start. We have today a panel discussion slash video podcast slash whatever about Demuxed 2023, which was a conference for video developers, which was last week in San Francisco, Tuesday and Wednesday. And yeah, so we're gonna have today introduction. We're gonna go through the key highlights of the conference, and then we're gonna touch on recent trends in audio video development, and also talk about challenges and solutions. At some point, those topics might cross because we have sort of a relaxed talk today, and yeah, let's see just how it goes. So yeah, hi again, and I'm your host, Nikolai Varlamov, and today we're gonna take a quick look at the history of the Demuxed conference and see the stats for Demuxed 2023, discuss highlights for the talks, and what I mentioned before, yeah, industry trends and challenges. And let me introduce our very special guest for today. So we have Varun Singh, CPTO of Daily. Say hi.
Hey, hi.
Yeah, and Varun, what actually CPTO stands for? I know CTO, but CPTO was, I think, first one I've seen on you.
I think it's like Chief Product and Technology Officer. I think there are many ways to, when you're a medium-sized company or small, there are titles and there are things that you need to do. So in my case, it's mainly making sure that we're building the right things, talking to a lot of customers, making sure that that's we understand what we need to build, and then communicating that internally. And I'm an engineer by background, so it's much more easy for me to do that compared to if I did not have that background.
No, I see. So yeah, there might be more even letters for someone. Yeah, and thanks. Yeah, we have also Alvaro. Please introduce yourself.
Hello. So I'm Alvaro, and I am the head of.
Yes,
Yep.
I'm very sorry, Alvaro. Actually, I should have introduced Alvaro Santos, Lazarna Lopez, and just for you, so for everyone knows, first two Alvaro Santos is the first name, Lazarna Lopez last name, two last names. Yeah, sorry, go on, please.
I had to. I had all full name. I usually just put Alvaro and Lacerna Lopez, but I guess full name gives me like more titles, like see the CPTO, but for Spanish people. So I'm I'm head of research and development at Tesla Lab, and I had the privilege to actually talk in the Max 2023. In my case, it wasn't about video; it was actually about audio. But since the conference was about pretty much a media streaming and video kind of, well, yeah, both. So my topic actually got into their radar, and they had me in the speakers panel, and that was a pretty nice experience. Not just because of me introducing new ideas about audio quality assessment, but also for me and for the company to actually see other people's and how they do stuff within their company on these very very niche kind of technology, which is the video and audio encodings and codecs and whatnot.
Okay, yeah, and if we touched already topic on the speakers, so I would like you to give some numbers about Demuxed, which I found out from Matt, who is organizer. So we had 33 speakers. I mean, not we, but the Demuxed had 33 speakers from 26 companies, and actually there were 130 talk submissions. Yeah, and I think how much we submitted, Alvaro, like 3 or 4, I think.
I think from our side we submitted about 3 or Yeah, I'm not sure of the fourth one, but for sure, three of them, and they were related to audio and video quality assessment, mostly.
And Varun, yeah, we also know that. So obviously, yeah, as we mentioned, you work in daily, and you had also Vanessa Pine talking about video and steganography. Do you know if you submitted also one talk, or maybe like the rest of hundreds?
No, we did only
Also, you-
one. I think we just did one. I think every year Vanessa presents, so I think she just has like really interesting topics, which are not necessarily daily related, like they're video related for sure. But so in this case, it was steganography. Last year, I think it was uh, glitchy videos and things like that. So it's always exciting to present at Mux.
Yeah, and I also actually I liked the topic. I think it was called like story of Benjamin Button or something along those lines, which was talking about reverse video playback actually, and how to overcome this challenge. I'm just looking on who done this. Yeah, Matthias Bullens from Theo Player, Curious Player of Benjamin Button. So yes, it's also great to see like some when people talking about some problems to solve which may not have like straight away use somewhere. Yeah, and about the rest of numbers, so overall it was 778 attendance and 444 in person and more than 300 online, which I think is also a good number, yeah. And sponsor-wise, it was 12 sponsors. I'm not gonna talk about their names. Yeah, you can check on the website. But actually, what I noticed, Daily was not sponsoring this time, and I understand Demuxed just about managed without you as a platinum sponsor. So why not this time, Varun?
I think there's only so many things we can do, and we were doing a lot of events, physical events this time, and I think it just fell through the cracks in our planning. Uh, sometimes you have to be aware of what you're going to do 6 months down the line, and we had a, quite a few events inside, like small gatherings of AI people, healthcare. So I think our focus was more on that, and I think that's one of the reasons why we didn't send too many talks either to Demuxed, because I think our focus has been elsewhere.
Okay, yeah, and but yeah, I'll try not to touch on a sponsor topic because I mentioned that it won't be about marketing, whatever. Yeah. So I wanted to mention some history about Demuxed. So conference itself started in 2015. Matt McClure was the one who started it. Actually, he mentioned that it all began with SF, which stands for San Francisco Video Technology, in 2013, and then it grew into a full-blown conference. And so the Max now is organized by a company called Max, but also important part is the Max started before Max. So yeah, the Max was first. And I liked also the fact that Matt mentioned that he started all of this because he got job as a video developer, and then he sort of struggled to understand what he was doing. So he wanted to gather people, so like-minded, so understand more and help others also. And about conference itself, like my thoughts, it was just right size. It was not too big, not too small, and it's like very friendly atmosphere in there. So if you're into audio video software development, I really recommend you to attend and network and listen to topics and submit your own.
Yeah, I have to admit that the conference is very focused because well, I've been in plenty of them, and even though most of conference that I've gone, maybe they are focused to mobile, maybe they are focused to like some other technology, but in this case is like really this is video, audio, and most or all of the people, they are really really very technical and very well known. They will know the topic, so that was very interesting to see, and to actually participate in something that is uh, that focused on a specific thing.
Also, what I wanted to mention is there is a Slack channel called video/dev.org. If you haven't already joined and you have interest in video stuff, join there. It's a very big community, like 10,000 plus people there, and all the info about events also posted there. Okay, and now I would like to steer into the highlights from Demuxed about the talks itself. So Alvaro, what talks caught your attention?
So from my side, well, there were plenty of very interesting talks through the conference. I might have missed some of them because I was both in like I was a speaker myself and I had to prepare and also like we had a booth, so it was pretty hard to manage to actually see. I've seen a lot of them then after the conference happened. And for those that really catch my attention during the conference, well, one of them was about FFmpeg and how to use it with JavaScript. It was a talk by Matt Satmari. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it well, his name, but for me it was pretty interesting because it was about how to add different things within a video and do it live, so that you can add different types of artifacts on top of a video. And in my case, it's very interesting because of the kind of work that I do, and the cool part is that they went very deep on the coding side. It's not like just grasping the surface and then just leaving you with the honey on the lips, but rather they will actually show the code and so how to implement it, and they there are public repositories about it, so it was a very thorough executed talk, and that was one of them. The other one, even though I didn't understand some of the concepts, because as I said, like a lot of the conference was really deep into the technologies and the low level stuff. And they talk also about AI and how to optimize light latencies. This was a talk by Rondas Satyan, again, like a name that I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing correctly, but from my side, I'm deeply interested in AI topics and the multiple implementations that it has, and to use AI into improving the bit rates for video encoding and to do that the most efficient way instead of using like conventional methods. It's very interesting a way of using this technology, and I think this can improve so much on the way we deliver media to every platform. So for me, that those were the two highlights. Of course, there were other talks that I really enjoy, and again, they went very deep onto the topic, and that kind of gave me more interest into knowing more what's going on, and also it gave me the perspective of how wide is this field, even though it's a very, at the same time, very niche into like just video and audio, but but it covers so many technologies and there are so many people working on it, and that gives you perspective.
Oh yeah, niche, but yeah, as I mentioned, like 10,000 plus people in a video dev Slack channel. Yeah, so there are a lot of people working on that actually. Yeah, as we see. And as for me, I liked quite a lot of topics. Yeah, I had maybe a bit more time than Alvaro because I didn't had any speech. But I liked one from Ronald Boultier from Two Orioles. It was about it was named Low Level Wizardry in a codec named David. I mean, not codec, yeah, encoder. And so I was surprised to know that AV1 actually, which is like most recently talked more about, and which really codec which really saves the bandwidth, can deliver high quality video with a low bandwidth. So Ronald mentioned that hardware decode support is available on most high-end devices, which was latest iPhone and on Androids. And yeah, he also like added some images with Apple chips where it has hardware like AV1 hardware decoder built on a chip. And yeah, and also one point he mentioned that in David there is a new threading model which enables already 720p real-time AV1 playback on Android, which was also like yeah, great to see how AV1 involves. Another one about AV1 was from Andrei Norkin from Netflix, and yeah, I liked to learn how much was work actually done by Alliance for Open Media, and which was launched in 2015, and like how Netflix cooperated with it, like, and how Videolan also was involved in all that. So Netflix like sort of was sponsoring some rounds of development on AV1, because yeah, Netflix was very interested in using it as soon as possible, and now they use it actually on a lot of items, a lot of movies. Also, like there was several topics about Quick protocol and MOQ, and also I like the one from Max. Victoria spoke about AI and laws. So it addressed some misconceptions in AI related laws and emphasized copyright privacy. So I guess, yeah, AI is very popular topic, but laws around AI might be like a bit hidden away yet. So that was, I think, most of highlights from the talks, and I also would like to tell that I don't really remember what was they about. I think I did something else at that time, but I like the fact that there was lighting talks, which is 3 minutes each for, I'm not sure, for half an hour or for 1 hour. People would apply even like the day before or on the same day before the lighting talks, and so that gives like another opportunity for someone whose speech was not accepted to give a lighting talk. Do you maybe, Alvaro, remember something from lighting talks?
No, for those I don't remember much, but I also have to mention that another thing that is very interesting about these conferences, and it's not only the talks, but actually the talks that you do to other, like with other people, like the private let's say talks, and those are very very interesting because you can actually dive into some topics. And among those, let's say like hidden talks that I had one with one, I don't remember his name, but and I think he was a speaker, and they were doing this like watermarking on films, and they were doing this watermarking on films because they were films that were released on flights, international flights, that they the interesting thing in these flights is that they get films that aren't yet into the public, or that they are still in cinemas, and then they have to make sure that these copies, they don't get distributed outside. And to do that, they do this very interesting watermarking that they can implement this into every single frame and actually identify them by just taking a picture of them, and they can know like exactly which film, which frame, and all the information about that specific video. So to identify to track from where it has been like exposed is much easier now with that technology. So that I found like very, very interesting, because I didn't know that that was there previously, and was good to know. I'm not sure from your side, Barun, if you had anything like that, or how did you felt like the whole conference overall?
Yeah, the conference, I was not physically there, so I only watched it online, and especially Vanessa's talk, which she gave to be supporting and solidarity in Delhi. But there, I think the things that are top of mind, and if we want to like just kind of segue into like the things that are like our panel discussion is about, is around like that's near and dear to me, is networking. Like that's where I've worked the last 25 years, and video codecs and audio codecs, the low level stuff is also like really near. So both those things were covered really extensively. Media over Quick, for example, or Quick in general. HTTP based streaming, I think there was some talk about that, and not much on WebRTC, which is like my bread and butter, but I think there's some coverage of that. And lastly, AI. I think AI rears its head every 2-3 years. It did during like the pandemic, when we talked a lot about working from home, and you can see like my background is not that great. Like I'm still working from home, and this is our guest bedroom, but you can see there's a bed, there's a bunch of things. So, we wanted to remove like what's in our background, replace it with so that was like a lot of work that happened. Then noise cancellation, echo cancellation, background noise removal, because there's so much things that can be happening. That was like 2-3 years ago. Now generative AI showed up in the intervening period. People didn't actually know what to do with it, but a lot of experimentation was happening outside of this out of this sphere. But with ChatGPT launched last year, I think it became really like we've seen a big move because OpenAI did Whisper, which was a really good transcription model. There are lots of transcription models from everyone, right? From Google, from DeepGram, from Amazon. Like everyone has a transcription model. So now you have transcription models. Transcripts take audio, convert it into text. Then you have all this chat GPT stuff. So people have been trying to figure out what to do with like this transcription. Like no one wants to read a transcription, right? So can you make use case specific summaries? We've done a bunch of work in that area. But also the low level stuff, people have also figured out how to like do better. We're talking about AV1 and such, but Google's and Microsoft have revealed ML based encoders, and I think even Netflix is doing that. But corpus of information and the type of things that Netflix does is completely different than like things that we are talking about, which is like real time and related. So yeah, let's segue into the rest of the panel discussion.
Yeah, no, I like a lot of those things, and it's very interesting that like how is the switch to AI from like all kind of technologies. And I just said like the release of ChatGPT kind of like give a heads up of like, yeah, this is happening and this is actually useful, and we can actually implement it in plenty of work streams. And I mean, I think now a lot of us uses both ChatGPT, Whisper AI, and the good thing is that the trend of open sourcing is allowing us to grow much faster than we've done for quite a lot of years. So if it was exponential before, now I think it's even more than that. And I've seen quite a lot of things arising very recently. And because one of the pretty cool things about ChatGPT is the transformer part, which is a multimodal AI algorithm that can process both audio, video, and text. So that's kind of like the the best thing that like you can process all that kind of information with one kind of architecture, and that allows to much powerful tools. And we are seeing that with this like lip sync that matches video with audio, and that now like a podcast can be processed by AIs and can be like arranged by the speaker and like automatically through different tracks, and that's super cool. And that's happening in parallel with so many other things, and all that stuff is powered by the kind of like a mix of community in the open source like district, let's say, and also the arrival of this generative AI technology.
So Varun, so yeah, one of the trends of Demuxed also was about MOQ and quick protocol. Like, can you give us some insight, like what's it all about, and what it solves, what problems it solves?
Sure. So Quick is UDP based protocol. It's supposed to be at the same level as TCP, like as TCP UDP, but it's Quick is on top of UDP. And I think if you think about the old waste of the internet was like HTTP, TCP, IP, right? And then you have like Dash, which runs on HTTP, so or HLS, which runs on TCP. So you had like this kind of set of protocols that were on top of HTTP, which were on top of TCP, which were. Then we had WebRTC, which tried to bring back the old worlds. If you remember Real Player and all these things from the late 90s, you could do RTSP, real-time streaming protocols, which were all UDP based, and WebRTC, which was trying to do encrypted, or which is doing encrypted video and audio for real-time use cases over UDP. So basically, Quick is in that layer. People have been thinking again, like if you're going to ditch HTTP completely for real time and for streaming, then how do we do this on Quick, for example? We already have WebRTC, which solves the problem. And if you want to do Dash instead of over Dash over HTTP1, you want to do over Dash over HTTP3 over Quick. That's like a lot of layers in between. So Media over Quick was really born from the idea that it's different from WebRTC in the sense that you don't have like the real-time guarantees. You could eventually have it, but in the charter of Media over Quick, it's like, can we do instead of Dash or HLS, Media over Quick on the ingest side? Because there are so many, like today, a lot of people use RTMP for ingest, and then HLS and Dash for delivery. Can we get Media over Quick, which would be both on the ingest side and on the egress side? And I think the team at Twitch has been actually pushing this forward, partly because the way Twitch works, or the things that Twitch may wants to make compromise on, is latency. It doesn't mind like 1 second latency, but really high quality video. And if you think about WebRTC, what it tries to do is tries to make the opposite consideration. So like if you don't have enough bandwidth and you want to meet your latency criteria or budget, which is typically something like end-to-end delay of 200 milliseconds, 300 milliseconds, that's typical. And most systems work at 70 milliseconds, 80 milliseconds. Then when you start to miss those guarantees of 80 milliseconds and 200 milliseconds, then you reduce the quality. And I think for folks that really care about quality over real time, Media over Quick will probably solve it for them, because you get the full control over what you want to do end to end. So in the case of WebRTC, you have very few controls. You can use simulcast. You can do some things to kind of switch between quality levels and try to do constant bitrate. But with Media over Quick, you'll get that. So with Media over Quick, the Quick protocol has a connection. You need to establish a connection, but then you can use streams. And streams are like basically in the old HTTP parlance would be, if you want to download a PNG file and an HTML file, several other assets, you could open multiple streams and then download those streams, like these assets, independently, as opposed to a single stream and trying to. So it tries to solve the head of line blocking. Like if something gets locked, you can still get the other assets and render on the HTTP, like on the web page, and the asset that is delayed will not be rendered, but at least the whole page will render outside of that asset. Now, if you think about that in the case of video, we already have really clean boundaries, right? Like you have a group of pictures, like you have an iframe, and then you have like pictures, and you have another iframe, then you have pictures, and then you have another iframe. And you can decide how big your group of picture ones can be. Like it can be 1 second, it could be half a second, it can be 10 seconds. And if you put a group of pictures onto like a particular quick stream, then you can basically, decide if you join the call, like if you join a session in the middle of a call, let's say. So it depends on where you join. Like, are you in the middle of the stream, or do you have to wait like 2 seconds before the next quick stream will start? So you can start getting data from the previous stream, cache it, and then get the next stream and try to render everything, right? So like you get a lot more fine-grained control at the lowest level, which you have at Dash, but you don't have in WebRTC. So like Media over Quick will allow you to do all these things. And eventually we can backport some of these ideas into WebRTC in some way. Because once you have it working for 1 second or 2 second delayed video, then like trying to figure out how it would work for 50 milliseconds video is just an engineering problem.
So in basic terms, Media over Quick, will it be suitable for both real-time communications and live streaming?
Yes.
And how?
But right now, Media over Quick is mainly about live streaming. And it's for ingress and egress, so like large scale distribution. So if you look at like who's really excited about these things are like NBA, ESPN. Like if you look at like a lot of the early contributors, and on the infrastructure side, it's like the usual suspects like Akamai. What does Akamai do? It's a big CDN provider. What does Twitch do? Like it does like large scale streaming. Of course, not every stream is, being watched by thousands of people, but they want to make a protocol that is scalable and does not take a big footprint on the internet. And to them, like HTTP already does that, but things like WebRTC have, you can't just spin up a server and like spin down a server in WebRTC, just like you can do in HTTP.
Okay, thanks for that. And we also had one question. I think I'm not gonna leave until the end for questions, so we can like already asked one. So one person asked about there is like a lot of things are going on every day, and how do we stay on track about latest developments? Any resources apart from Demuxed? I already answered in the chat. So like to join Slack and join newsletters such as WebRTC Weekly. I know you, Varun, also have a daily newsletter, right? I think also
Right.
monthly, weekly,
No, monthly.
monthly.
But like a lot is happening these days in AI. So like Ben's Bytes, there is Thursday AI. There are lots of new things, and especially if you're thinking about like how video and audio are being used. And I think more and more about real time is coming. Like it's not just generating AI, generative AI. Like draw me a picture of an igloo with a unicorn, and then it just imagines it, and it takes like maybe a minute to do that. I'm really surprised that it used to take a minute on Midjourney a year ago, and today on DALI we are able to do it within like 7 seconds. We did a demo announced on like on Product Hunt last week, called Storybot. It basically is you talking to a bot and the bot telling you a story. And especially it was aimed at the aspect of generative AI, which is not really like being factual, like leaning into the fact that it can hallucinate and can have vivid imagination. So we built the story bot where you talk to it, but while it's talking to you, it's also generating like story pictures for the text that it's going to tell you. So it's like the whole workflow is speech to text, because you talk to it. The text gets transformed into transcribed, like sent to an LLM, which it responds to. And the whole point of Storybot is it gives you options. Like story A, what do you like? The protagonist is going to enter a cave. Should he enter the cave, or should she like go somewhere else? And then you can decide what you want that person to do, and then it tells you the next part of the story, then gives you another option, and it converts that like text to speech, and then shows a picture. And we were able to do one frame per 5 seconds, very easily. And if you think about, like, it's telling you a story and it's generating a frame in that period of time, that means like we're very close to like being able to like go from 5 seconds to 1 second soon. And one frame per second for a use case like that is, you don't need 15 frames per second. You're like, we need to like make the distinction between reality and abstract unreal things. So like something that is telling you a story, or it's generative AI, it can actually be 1 frame per second, because then it's generated by a system and not like a real person on the other side.
So
Yeah.
talking about yeah, sorry, go on.
No, like I want to mention that it's so rapid the way that this is evolving, and the good thing is that so many people can access and can develop on top of the technologies that are now present with this generative AI. I've seen so many very interesting implementations of it. I mean, this one is one that I didn't know about, but like every day, if you dig a little bit into the topic, you see different ways of using this technology, and it's either for generating or for interpreting. So as I said, like this is a multimodal kind of AI, and we can either generate images, generate text, now even generate music. It generates voice. Recently, there was this translation using your own voice to be able to speak in different languages, which I think like that's so cool. And they can not only translate it, put it in your mouth, and do it like as you will speak in that other language, but also it will modify the way your lips move.
Yep.
So during the video, so that you also look like you are speaking that language. So I feel like in the future we might have films that have the full translation and lip sync and all that stuff doing by AIs. which is sad for some part of the industry because I mean there are translators and dubs that actors that work into like doing these things, but I bet the industry will move itself in order to fill the gaps that will be in the future. And I think most of these gaps will be about data and maybe just giving the AI's tools to learn from humans and to learn like how to make better performances, better translations, better everything. I mean, AIs lack the context from human, and we need to give that, and that's just the only way to do that is in form of data, and we have to generate that data and clean the data, not just throw it there. So
Varun, I know, needs to finish soon. I just want to give him word, also connect with AI about challenges in AI codecs. Do you can you share some thoughts on that?
There's a lot happening in this space. If you look at, there are many ways people are approaching this, and there are very specific aspects of like codecs that people are going after. So, for example, like if you think about redundancy, we have NACs and FECs, forward error corrections. Yeah, and there a few years ago, and if you look at 20 years ago, the Qualcomm and acquired a bunch of companies which were doing Raptor code. So like things that are really mathematical require, like if you take a frame of video, you could use Raptor codes, and 5 seconds later, like you would start to decode them, but you could have even 50% packet loss and it would work because it would generate so much data, but it required entropy, a lot of data to be present. So it won't work for real time. So you can't use some of these these schemes, or this mathematics doesn't work for things which are 200 milliseconds. Like if that is your jitter buffer or the size of your video that you can look back, then it's not great. So people have started to use deep learning, right? Like basically which parts of these are like, if you know that this person is speaking English, you kind of expect a behavior or pattern or speech, then can deep learning compress this in a certain way? And then even if you lose like 50 to 30%, can you reconstruct it? So that's like one area which I think Amazon's actually pursuing with Opus codec. So an existing codec using deep redundancy, for example, and this is like, these are the folks from Mozilla who have joined like the AWS team working on that. Then enhance voice. So another area which was, if you talk about voice on mobile, you can go 15 kilobits per second, 16 kilobits per second, but Opus, you can try to push it to 12, kind of works, doesn't work. But if you try to go below 16 kilobits per second, like you're on your own, it kind of works okay till 12, but at 8 kilobits per second doesn't. So there are a bunch of people who are working on it, which is like Saturn, Lyra, Google, Microsoft doing that work. Then you have
Silk was also part of this, or Silk is not deep learning or AI?
Saturn is a variant of Silk, but Silk is not deep learning. And then I think the same folks that build part of the Opus, right? Opus has 2 codecs. They built Soundstream, which is a scalable one, which does both speech and music. So it's like Opus, which can go like between, wide, like low, narrow band to like wide band audio. Soundstream is another one. So, and if you look at it 3 years ago, almost none of them existed. Like maybe Lyra, but Lyra and Soundstream, I think, are Google. Saturn is Microsoft, and there's more. Like I can't even cover like the length and breadth of this. So in terms of audio, they're pushing really hard on this. I think for video, it's fairly straightforward. I was playing around in a hackathon within the company, that if I just sent like this much of my face, like this is just a postage stamp, and the first frame took my whole background, can I generatively build my background without sending the background, right? And the problem with something like that was before is like, if I sent only this and I sent you this picture, it didn't know where to put me in this frame. So it was like mathematically like a lot of computation happening. But if you do generative AI, there's no reason for this background to be the same background, right? Like you could basically say like it's just background replacement in some sense. But you could say like my home, give a thing, it will make a picture, and try to keep it static throughout the thing. So it can create a virtual world and like just like slap me on top of it. And generative AI can do that today. So my experiment was like, it was even making like, it knew that I was wearing a black shirt and was rebuilding like all my arms and everything, like as much as you can see all the time. So just by looking at this, which was really compelling, because then I can just send, my outline to the system. And I think NVIDIA did some analysis on this. And I think one of the things that Alvaro was talking about was, the translation work. NVIDIA, I think, presented it 18 months ago that it would do gaze correction. So like if I'm not looking at the camera, it'll recenter my eyes. I think FaceTime also does it now. And you could send like a small part of your picture, it would generate like a lot of these, but it was still trying to do, based on this information. And I think what Alvaro said, like now you can almost do it in real time. So I think 11 labs, play.ht have like shown that you can do voice cloning. You can do that, beforehand. And then you can show up at a meeting and then just type, and then it'll talk on behalf of you, right? So
Yeah.
so there's so many ways that this technology and use cases can change.
Yeah, even like Unreal, they released recently these new avatars that they were pretty much like rendered in real time, and it was just like taking a video with an iPhone, and then it was generated the whole avatar with all the emotions and all that stuff. I'm not sure if it was like, real time, but it was very close to it, and it's all because of these like generative AIs and training. It was impressive the whole all this has evolved in so little amount of time. I mean, of course.
Yeah, I was just gonna say like one thing about all of this before I leave, and I'll drop after I say it, is that we talk a lot about AI, and a lot of it felt like it was just OpenAI doing it. But if you look at in the last 6-9 months, there've been tens of like ChatGPT type of models released by Meta, by Google. A lot of it is open source. So some things are like the moat that OpenAI was creating is kind of also disappearing, mainly because like there's so much open source. So just like going back to like how open source like basically if you also think about WebRTC, a lot of WebRTC became available mainly because of libWebRTC. It was not just the browser, like it's an open standard, but people were able to take libWebRTC and compile it into like an Android and iOS, which were not initially supported. Teams uses it, Google, like other things use it, Facebook Messenger. So, so many things came into light because people were standing on shoulders of giants. I think that's the speed up that we're seeing now is mainly because like a lot of it is becoming available, and you and I can play with it without even actually understanding in detail like what's really actually happening underneath.
Yes, to give it to the public to be able to test it, and then to let the developers that aren't from that company play with it and develop on top of it. That's the best thing that could have happened. And yeah, right now it's just developing rapidly, also thanks to that, encouraging open sourcing and big companies going through that direction, like yeah, Meta, Microsoft, and other players seeing that that's the direction to open source things, and then to build platforms on top of it, so that the community can help you evolve much faster than you could ever imagine.
Yeah, it's like a watershed moment. Like how many people who develop web apps today actually understand HTTP, like the protocol, like in like actual message that is being sent and how it's made, and like what each of those things that it's filling into the protocol, what it means. You can and I think that's like what's happening with AI now is like, maybe I don't need to understand like how like it just generates things. Like if I'm sending this picture and it can generate it, awesome, and if you have like a word model that you can slap me into, even great, right? Then I'm just working with the tools that are already available and don't need to actually understand like the individual parts. With that, thank you very much. It was a pleasure speaking to you all. And I hope you all have a great day, and I get to see you soon.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think 5 more minutes we can touch maybe on topic of open source, as it's been just mentioned earlier. But yeah, WebRTC, is it WebRTC is open source, right?
Yeah, it is. So even though like plenty of private companies uses it, it's an open source framework, and I mean it's really interesting to see how other companies just developed it on top of it, and all the improvements that the community has been able to do over the past years, and mostly during the COVID times, that video audio communications became a necessity rather than like a feature. And this open source before, it wasn't such a big thing. I think companies were and they are still worried about IPs, like intellectual property, and that how is this distributed. And but I think the industry is kind of shifting towards a more like a service kind of model, rather than technology, proprietary technology, on terms that well, I think it's better to give these to the public, let them work for you, and then you develop something that is maybe related to hardware, related to infrastructure, something that individuals can't really pull off out of their own will. And so you get the best of both worlds, and you can see how fast technology is evolving just because of the open source community.
It's also, for me, it was interesting to learn that something like this happens. So we have David, this decoder, and actually it's open source, but some rounds of development was sponsored, like by Netflix.
Yeah.
So I haven't heard of that before, but also interesting, yeah, sort of. So you have a open source product, and then company who is very interested in getting it faster. It's like there is additional sponsoring, so
Yes.
is it
Yeah.
still like it's like open source, but like different open source? No, I don't even know how to
No,
call
it happens right now, like as you know, like there are many technologies with AI, focused on AI, and even though there are public models about video quality, audio quality, video, generative video, and stuff, there are still like companies that offer like the challenges to improve upon their algorithms, or to get more data, to get more label data, to get other things, and they paid for that. Even though the algorithm is public, they pay like they do these challenges to the community so that they can develop kind of like a offer, like a job offer, but in a I don't know, it's kind of like gathering ants to make a huge colony, instead of asking a really smart ant, and telling him, okay, develop this. So you just pick the macro scale community, and ask them to filter that for you.
Also, coming back to Demuxed, I very liked actually the fact that on the first day it opened with a speech about open sourcing. Basically, it was by Jeremy Duck, called "How Web Philosophy Challenged Legacy Media Mindsets and Won." and he mentioned about challenges that there are some challenges like fast iterations on the open source product, and that's exactly how it solves, like being able to like sponsor rounds that would bring, because some, like, let's say someone who is working on an open source product, he has more time to the hands, right? So he can jump in because he'll have something to eat here from. So he gets paid, and so that solves this issue. And so also one of the challenges he mentioned, that actually I guess that's one of the biggest, it's open source tech, it should be on the same level or better than proprietary software. So at that time, for example, when he was mentioning, he was talking about video codecs, and like there was H.264, and so you should be competing with that, and it was very, very, very good product, very like yeah. Any
Yeah.
last thoughts about this? Yeah.
Eventually is kind of like a change of mentality on the way we perceive or way we develop the industry, and is instead of owning and protecting the whole product as if it was something that shouldn't be like shouldn't be released completely to the public, and that kind of stops the advance like the advance of that technology. What we are migrating now is, okay, we expose so that the community can evolve that product, but we specialize on one single thing, or to make a product, a tool that actually delivers that part of the development that they did as a first. And it might scare you or scare big companies, because eventually this is kind of like giving stuff up to anyone to use it and to actually develop something that is better than the thing that you are developing yourself. But at the same time, it's also advertising your own companies, like OpenAI. Like ChatGPT is like the best advertisement for them, and now Microsoft to actually grow, and they released that, and it's kind of like, but yeah, like there are other companies and now they are doing the same thing, and maybe even better products or better like implementations. But it's is the new game, let's say, is the new way of developing, and I think this is for the better. This is definitely for improving technology and for better advancements.
Okay, thank you. We're coming to the end. If anyone has any last questions, please put it. And just want to mention again that Demuxed has really like great atmosphere, very, very friendly, really good for networking, and it all comes down from organizers. So I don't know. Actually, I listened to a podcast where Matt and Phil, organizers, yeah, they were talking about like how they prepared for Demuxed, and they even mentioned that it almost was cancelled because even up to June they didn't had a venue lined up, and for like last month, Matt was very stressed, and like some people came in last moment, like Victoria joined last 2 weeks and really took some responsibilities. So it's actually very hard to put a conference, especially when you have also like full-time work in parallel. So I think it all comes to them, like, so they preserve this atmosphere, like very friendly.
Yeah,
So, because it's not like agency putting it, but like themselves. Yeah.
I have to say, like that was very, very well put. Like all from all the logistics, how to do the like sharing, all the back of scenes, so with like the microphones, how they instruct us on how to do all the talks, and then like the venue, all the sponsors, how they were arranged.
I remember also there was also a surprise. I was even like thinking about like until last what it will be, but it was a very great like stand-up comedian like coming from a IT background. I mean, he works in IT, but like a lot of jokes about Mark Zuckerberg and like how IT guys are like walking strangely. Yeah, I mean, it was very like best ending, like very funny. So yeah, next year is Demuxed 10, and they mentioned they will be preparing very well for that and doing everything in advance. So I wish them very good luck, and yeah, and consider visiting Demuxed wherever it will happen, because they gave some hints on maybe it won't happen in San Francisco, but they don't know, of course, I think themselves yet. But yeah, thanks for watching. Yeah, and yeah, see you maybe next time, maybe next year if we're gonna do the same recap about the Max 10.